This episode of Warp Factor 10 is brought to you by, well, of course, you. If you want to learn more about how you can support the show, go to patreon.com/thearena_podcast. Hey everybody, welcome into another episode of Warp Factor 10, our series about all things Star Trek. So in this episode, of course, we're going to be going over episode 4 of Star Trek Strange New Worlds called Memento Mori. So I'm your host, Expat, along with my co-host, Burly of Burlyman Gaming. Burly, how you doing, man?
Doing good. How are you?
I'm doing good. And I see you have behind you there that classic original series
what's behind
episode of the Gorn. So, of course, in episode 4 of Strange New Worlds, obviously, we had the Gorn, but we never got to see the Gorn, Burly. We never got to see what they look like.
Yeah. Well, I think they did it because here's the thing. Even though the Gorn is so cheesy in the 1960s show, it's so iconic. You change it, Star Trek fans are gonna go nuts.
Yeah.
So you say it's the Gorn, but don't show the Gorn.
Yeah, but you have to admit though, throughout this episode, I mean, the Gorn were kind of like Alien, like the film Alien. You know, it's like they're just, like the helmsman. Ortega's. She was referring to them as the boogeyman, right? Whereas, of course, La'an, and we're going to talk about her all throughout this episode. She was amazing again in this episode, and she's like, nobody has lived long enough to talk about them. It's like they're out to eat you and eat your flesh and your bones and rip them apart and everything. So I'm like, it's like getting all these alien vibes,
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, let's get started. So Burly, Memento Mori. So what do you think that refers to in this episode?
Memento Mori. I would imagine just her. I'm blanking on how to pronounce her name.
Mm-hmm.
But her past, as we see through the.
I'm talking about La'an, right? La'an Noonien Singh. La'an.
Thank you. Yeah. I'm bad with names, so I'm trying not to butcher it. La'an.
No, you're looking like behind your shoulder there because that Gorn might try to attack you instead of Captain Kirk, right?
Yes.
So anyway, La'an, yes, La'an Noonien Singh, yes. So anyway, what it refers to basically is if you look at these pins.
Mm-hmm.
Now these pins were due to the film, or the film, not the film. I'm sorry. The episode was basically dedicated to Starfleet. For example, Starfleet Memorial Day. Remembrance Day, and of course, those crew members who had served on one of these ships, possibly had served on one of these ships, or ships throughout Starfleet that had been either destroyed or had been damaged and crew members had been lost. And so maybe they had served with some of these crew members before. So in the episode, in the beginning, of course, they're wearing these pins, of course, but La'an, she doesn't want to wear one, but she has one. but she just doesn't want to wear it. She doesn't want to, think about the past. And kind of that's how this episode revolves around the fact that she doesn't want to really remember too much about the past, obviously because of her encounters with the Gorn. But this image I'm showing for all of you video viewers, of course, we have, of course, the Shinzo, the third one, the top to the right there, the red one. Of course, that is from Star Trek Discovery. The Shinzo, of course, was the ship that, of course, the captain, played by Michelle Yeoh, was on. Yeah. So yeah, and you have some other ones here. The Puget Sound, of course, the Farragut. But anyway, so yeah, memento. Memento is like a memento of those times, and they wear those pins on Starfleet Remembrance Day. So anyway, so I thought, Burly, this episode, I mean, obviously La'an's character, and then of course Uhura and Hemmer, I mean, working together in engineering. It's like Uhura, first she's a communications officer, and then she has to go on her first away mission in episode 2, right? So she was freaking out about that, and now she has to hang out with Hemmer and work in engineering. Apparently these cadets have to work in every you know every different type of department on the Enterprise. So I really enjoyed when it came to the episode, not only La'an's performance, uh, but of course Uhura and Hemmer working together uh, through of course, through all of the damage that is sustained by the Enterprise due to the Gorn attack. But what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, yeah. It's kind of funny that they got to be like, okay, we hired you as communication officer, but we're going to also make you do engineering. Next week she'll be in the kitchen or med bay.
Yeah.
So that was just kind of but it's for what happens later in the episode.
Yeah.
But yeah, we have the Gorn. We're introduced with the Gorn and their attack. Now, one thing we were talking before we recorded this episode, you don't see the Gorn.
Yes.
Which, I know people will be upset with. I think they did it. The way they did it was fine.
Yeah.
I think they did it because, as cheesy as the Gorn behind me looks from the '60s show, there was no. You change that look, you're gonna get people pissed off. You stick with the old look, you're going to get people pissed off you didn't change it. So what's the best thing to do? Say it's the Gorn, but don't show it.
Yeah. And just make them seem menacing and just like carnivorous and brutal.
And you definitely get that with just the attacks on the Enterprise here. It was just like...
Yeah. And, the thing about La'an, of course, they go down to the planet's surface, of course, and they're trying to figure out what happened to these colonists and everything. And they find like a bloodbath, a pool of blood, and only a dog that had survived, basically. And, but then, of course, this like a transport ship shows up, and it has a bunch of these survivors on it, and they can't be transported because of the radioactive ore or something that was on the ship. So it was pretty cool. They had to put out kind of like this, kind of like a ramp, kind of like when you're getting on an airplane, the ramp when you're walking through the terminal and stuff, and you go into that, little, the compartment that you walk through to get inside of the airplane. I mean, they had to extend one of those to the ship so that people could walk across and get onto the ship. But then La'an, and she was able to figure out when the girl was, saying they made these noises, this like noise, and then she knew exactly that it's the Gorn. And then she's like, scan the area right away. They're probably, coming. And then, raise shields, but then boom, it's like they were, They were ready for that surprise attack. What'd you think of that part, man?
Yeah, I enjoyed that, and then they were like, when she figured out when the kid was the only one that could give them information, and she's like, oh shit, this was what it is. You need to scan for EMP for this,
Yeah.
and then raise the shields. We can't because we got this ship. We're trying to get things, and like
Right.
you could just see it on Pike's face of
Yeah.
like, shit,
Yeah.
we're in trouble here. I really like this, and like I really like the scenes they're doing with all the crew working together,
Yeah.
coming up with different solutions of, okay, what if we do this? What
Yeah.
okay, if we try this, how's this?
Yeah. And I have to ask you, throughout the episode, La'an was getting flashbacks, like when she was looking at her pin.
Mm-hmm.
She was getting a flashback. I think that was her brother, possibly. I think that was the brother.
I think that's what they're trying. That it was the brother, because like you see it when she's down in engineering when it or no, where with the transport with all the people coming in. You
Yeah,
see at one point it flashes
and
her brother there.
and when Pike, after one of the meetings in the ready room, I guess Pike made her stay behind, and as Pike was talking to her, she could see, she could see him behind Pike, kind of an image of him. Yeah. So, but anyway, yeah, I mean, working together and all, but of course, there was heavy damage, obviously, and then of course, number one gets injured again. So
Yeah.
like in episode 1, she was injured, before she was brought back to the Enterprise, and of course now she has these serious injuries. But it's funny how, because they didn't have the supplies, they had to go into like very like drastic ways of you know uh healing, in a sense, and it's like Nurse Chapel basically had to do suturing. A
Get
very
the needle
20
thread.
That's right, a very 20th century style, of of doing things medically and all and stuff. But yeah. And then of course the I part one of the parts of the episode I really liked the most was the in the ready room, Spock and of course Ortegas and La'an are sitting there with Pike, and then Ortegas comes up, of course, talking about nobody's ever seen these Gorn before. They're just like the boogeymen,
Mhm.
And boy, oh boy, did did La'an. She did not like that. She did not like that, and then she was basically, just telling it like it is. I mean, throughout this series so far, she reminds me of a person living in our time, in like the 21st century, just very blunt, very direct about certain things,
Yeah.
and I mean, she just told Ortegas, it's, people have seen them. The problem is nobody has been able to live to talk about it except for her, basically, you know. And what she was saying about the Federation thinks that they can, their enemies, they can talk with their enemies, and come to some kind of a point where they can actually, not be enemies anymore. She said that's a bunch of hogwash. That's not true. I mean, the Gorn, they can't be bargained with. They can't be reasoned
Mm.
with. It is very much like the Borg, back
Yeah.
in the Next Generation, episodes where she just says the Gorn, they won't negotiate. They just, we are just prey, and they are just, humans are just, food for them, forms of consumption, and so that's what I really liked about this episode, is that they really tried to make the Gorn, out to be like aliens, the
Mhm.
alien, from like the Ridley Scott films, in a sense, because we didn't see
Mhm.
them at all, but what we did see of what they left over, yeah, it was just a full and all out carnage, so your thoughts?
Yeah. I did enjoy that with the speech. Like you do get the John Delancey flashback, like it just flashed back to me of with him with the Borg. They're relentless. They will never stop.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like that, and I love that line of people have encountered them. They just don't survive. That's the thing.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah. But I did like that I like that she got promoted as acting number one
Again,
because
yes.
again, and because she has experience, and Pike's like, okay, I trust you. You got it. Give me all the info you know. Help me because I want us all to survive.
Yeah.
And if you're my best chance.
Yeah.
And I love some of the maneuvers that they do in here, that they're talking between her, Lon, Pike, Spock, and just being like weighing each option of, can we do this? Okay, if we do this, there's this. And Pike, like, I know there's this one black hole here, but let's not worry about that because they have to deal with it too. So we can both kind of
one problem at a time.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, they were able to hide, and they were able to take one of the ships out. Yeah. But they were able to hide. But then obviously they had to maneuver around the black hole, which is pretty cool, So, and then of course they were able to get away from the Gorn by doing that. But yeah, and then of course the interaction between Spock and La'an, and Spock doing the mind meld with her and being able to see her childhood with her brother trying to escape from the Gorn. Yeah, I thought that was a pretty powerful part of the episode as well. So
yeah, I was surprised we're getting our first mind meld, episode 4.
Yeah.
And it's with La'an.
Yeah.
I thought we would have got Pike. Would have been our first mind meld. I would have thought Pike, because then you could do so much with like him being like, because he's supposed to, because Pike knows his end, so all that.
Yeah, definitely. So but anyway, they're able to escape the Gorn, and obviously they talk about we'll be more prepared next time. And I don't know if we're ever going to see the Gorn again in Strange New Worlds. Maybe they'll show up again, and maybe we'll see them this time. But who knows? I don't know. I don't know if they're going to look like the Gorn from the original series, but I would probably doubt that. But
I would doubt that. We might have them come back, or I mean, they'll be mentioned again throughout the season.
Yeah.
But whether or not we'll actually see the Gorn, I think they're going to just do if we have to show them, we will show them.
Yeah.
That'd be the only time they would ever show.
Yeah, and I think it's going to be interesting between this episode and the next episode if any kind of time gap comes into play, because the Enterprise was pretty heavily damaged coming out of that attack with the Gorn. So you figure they would probably have to be in space dock for quite a while to get the Enterprise refitted and fixed before they go back out into space. We shall see, but anyway, that'll be interesting. And of course, the next episode is going to be about Spock. It's called Spock Amok. So that should be an interesting one. Yeah, that should be an interesting one. So, but we'll have to see if any time, has progressed since that. And of course, we lost in this last episode. We lost 7 crew members. Yeah, I mean, probably the Enterprise will have been completely retrofitted and fixed by the time of the next episode. But yeah, and then I'm just wondering, like I mentioned in a previous episode, whether or not 10 years are going to go by before the end of this season, because Kirk comes into season 2, so you figure that they're going to have to, by the finale of season 1, they're going to have to finish Pike's arc of the story, to do that maybe. So I know, we shall see.
Well, you could, for next week they'll bring a guy. Oh, The ship repairs went quick. We hired the specialist engineer in. His name's Scotty.
Yeah, it's possible.
Yeah. You never know.
You never know. I mean, of course, Uhura is going to stay on the ship, and then but she has to finish Starfleet Academy too. So whether she has to go back for that or not, who knows? But yeah, we shall see. So yeah, it was a great episode. Another fun episode. How would you rate this one compared to the first 3 episodes, Burly?
This would probably be in the middle for me.
Okay.
It was not my favorite, but it was a damn good just episode. Yeah. This series, I'm loving every episode. I'm waiting week after week. I'm like, okay, what are we gonna get next?
Yeah,
because I like the one and done format because that works so well for Star Trek.
Yeah,
and it just like they're doing character relationships well.
Yeah,
and dialogue between the characters.
Yeah,
so
I still think of the 4 episodes. Episode 1 still my favorite. Because it revolves around when it comes to the prime directive of what it became, and then I think Children of the Comet is my second favorite. Still, I really like that episode. It was really really fun to watch, and to see how Uhura was able to figure out what to do on her first away mission and all. So I really enjoyed that one as well. So I would probably say this was probably my third favorite. So, but anyway, yeah, they're all, like I said, I mean, like you said too, all great episodes, and the one and done story arcs have been very solid so far, I think. Yeah. All right. So, of course, we have a Patreon. This will go up to our Patreon in early access for the first 2 days before it goes to our YouTube channel once it goes public. So if you're interested in supporting our content, please come and visit our Patreon at patreon.com/thearena_podcast. So, we have, of course, our Star Trek series here, Warp Factor 10. And of course, we also have a Star Wars series, which we're going to be doing recordings and review episodes on the Obi-Wan Kenobi series. And as well as, of course, our gaming news podcast, The Arena, multi-platform gaming news podcast. So a lot of content over there on Patreon. So please come and check that out. And of course, after going public, all of our videos go to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/thearenaproductions. So please come and check us out there, and be sure to hit those like and subscribe buttons. All right. So I've been your host, Expat, along with my co-host, Burly of Burlyman Gaming. We hope to catch you in the next episode of Warp Factor 10 for our Star Trek Strange New Worlds review episodes. Of course, Spock Amok will be episode 5 coming up this coming week. And of course, we'll be recording it on the weekend. So we hope to catch you in the next one. So take care, everyone. Peace.
Take care, everyone.
Out. Live long and prosper.
Bring back the Odd Foon.